Hey y'all, and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to work on a tooled leather can cooler. The supply list is coming up now, and I will have links to all these supplies down in the description box below. We are also on social media if you want to go over and check us out on Facebook and Instagram. And also, if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and ring that bell to make sure you're notified every time we post a video. Here you can see I've spray painted my cup. I ombre'd my blues together, and obviously my blue spray paint does not match my blue glitters, but it was close enough and it gave me a little bit of a blue background to work with. I had my cup sitting in front of a small space heater so it's nice and warm, so that the very small amount, 1 ml of epoxy, will spread nice and even over that tumbler. I'm using the epoxy method to put my glitter on because it gives me a little bit more time to work and make sure that I've got my ombre just the way I want it. The first color of glitter I have is Sinclair. It's a chunkier glitter along with Knife Hand, which is a chunky as well. I'm also using High Tide, which is a finer cut and matches Sinclair very well. And then I've got Dress Blues, which is a finer cut of Knife Hand. So here I'm just getting set up. You can see I keep my glitter in bags and I put them in cups. I find that I have a little bit better control with that. So I start with my chunky glitters, and I'm just going to go right into the center with Knife Hand. So I'll go around and get decent coverage. It's pretty sparse at this point. We're just going to kind of lay out where we want those glitters to go. So after I've got it in the middle, I tilt my tumbler and I let the glitter fall out of the cup very, very lightly and gently. I've raised my cup up so that when the glitter falls, it kind of fans out and creates a nice cascading effect. I want the blues to kind of radiate out from the center, those dark blues, and then my lighter blues, I'll bring them into the center so that my ombre meets and I don't have real harsh lines. I tap my tumbler off with my scissors and then clean up my paper, and we're on to the next color. So here I'm going to start with Sinclair, which is my another chunky. Always start with your chunkies first. I got a little heavy-handed there. So I'm just going around the bottom. Very, very light coverage at this point. I don't need a lot. I don't want a lot of chunkies on there. But I just want to add enough that I've got a good idea of where my colors are going to go, where my colors are going to be. And yeah, so I wasn't really thinking about it, and you just get to see my hand. Sorry about that. So now I'm going through the middle with my finer cut, which is Dress Blues. I'm going a little bit heavier right through the middle. Still pretty light coverage. And I'm going to go all through the middle. And then I'm going to tilt my cup again. I'm going to start and try, and I'm aiming for the top line of my blue glitter and letting it fan down and cascade down to the bottom. And I'll do the same thing. I'll tilt it the other way, and then I let my glitters cascade down the cup. And I've got a pretty good tilt on it, and I've got very little glitter coming out of my actual cup. Now I'm going to come in with my last color, my last fine glitter, which is High Tide. I'm going to go real heavy around the rim, try and get some pretty good coverage right around the rim. And then again, with the same process with just letting the glitter just fall and cascade and letting it fall down into my darker blues. And hopefully, as I keep making videos, I will get better at keeping things in frame. But for now, I think you get the general idea. So here I'm going back to the top. Pretty heavy right around the rim, just so I can get real good coverage right there around that rim. And then again, I'll tilt my cup, let it fan down, and let you watch my hand and the cup kind of squeeze a little bit there. As you can see, I got a pretty tight squeeze and I've got that cup crimped off pretty good. So not much glitter comes out, but enough comes out that it falls down into that blue and creates a really nice ombre. So here I'm just going back through with my fine glitters, and I'm a little bit heavier handed. Letting that dark blue fall down into my lighter blue a little bit more. Trying to get all my spots covered up that I've missed and any holes that I don't have glitter in, now that I kind of have a really good idea of where all my glitters are going to be and how far down I want my ombre to go. Then I cover my entire cup with that High Tide, pretty good coverage there, and that's it. That's all there is to an ombre. The more you practice, the better you get. My first ombres looked horrible. So there I just covered it up with the dress blues just to kind of get some more dark blue into the light blue and make it look a little bit more seamless. And since I did use some chunky glitter, I'm just going to take a little piece. This is freezer paper. You can use parchment paper. Some people just take a little piece and tap, tap, tap. I just put my cup in my freezer paper on the shiny side, and I just give it a little bit of a press, roll it up in there and give it a little press just to kind of help that chunky glitter lay flat. And then I will still go around and look for any little stray pieces and just tap them down with my finger. Here, I'm starting my first epoxy layer. I mixed up 15 mLs of epoxy. I didn't need that much, but I mixed that much up anyways. I had some other things that I did. Any extra glitter that I have, I usually just will make a bookmark sometimes to match the tumbler that I'm making. That way, if anyone purchases it, I can send it to them with a little free gift. So I'm just making sure that I've got good even coverage on that epoxy, and I am using CCDIY Fast Set on this. It will cure to the touch in about 2 hours, and then I am ready to give my cup a good sand. So I didn't have too many bumps or too many places that I needed to sand, so I just sanded the few little places I did need to. Sprayed it down with my alcohol. Took a coffee filter. Wiped off all the sand, grit, and dirt and dust and all my little fingerprints from my big fat chubby fingers. Then I went into applying my vinyl. So everywhere that this vinyl is, underneath is the glitter. So when I take my vinyl off, underneath all the paint and my alcohol inks, you will see the blue glitter. So again, I'm just lining it up, making sure that my template is on there nice and straight, even with the bottom, that it's going to match and meet on all ends. Then I peel back a little bit of my backing and cut it off. And then I just start rolling it on my tumbler. I will use my fingers. I will use my squeegee. Either one works great. Credit card if you don't have a little squeegee. And you just push the backing off as you push the vinyl on, if that makes any sense. So now I'm lifting up that little edge of transfer tape that was kind of like an anchor for my template. Because if I lay my vinyl down on top of that, my vinyl's going to stick to the transfer tape instead of my cup, and then I end up with a big mess, and I don't get all my decal on there. So I was going to try and start peeling it off, but I decided I should probably cut off this excess around the rim. Otherwise, I'm going to be pulling up a lot of stuff from the top. So now here I am just carefully pulling the vinyl off. Or the transfer tape, sorry. And I'm keep going around and around, pushing down little pieces, straight pieces as they come up. And I just work it around, making sure that everything stays down. And if you happen to hear my child in the background, I'm sorry. He is screaming at me at the moment. So here I had a little piece that just kind of went wonky. So I just picked it up and pushed it back down. I'm pushing down all of the vinyl so that when I do go to spray paint it, I don't get any spray paint leaking under my vinyl because I want nice, crisp lines around that vinyl. And then I'm going to take the excess that I cut off at the top, and you can see I have just a slight gap. So I'm just going to take the vinyl that was left over from the top and kind of fill in the gaps. So once I finish up with the vinyl placement, and you could always take these off and put them on by hand instead of, putting them just a little bit at a time. I took it outside, spray painted it white. And then I have my alcohol ink. I like to use butterscotch. It does give me a little bit of a lighter wood grain, but that's okay. I kind of like that look. So I just run a strip of the butterscotch down, take a old brush with some pretty rough bristles, and just brush up and down. It is a dry brush. I don't want it wet. I want it dry. And I just brush up and down. I will do this all over the entire cup first, just so I can get... I like to go over the entire cup first before I start trying to make knots and things like that. That way I've got a good base layer. I can kind of see where the natural kind of runs and the alcohol ink is kind of overlapped. As you can see up here, it's a little bit darker, so I might put, a little knot in there and go back and kind of play with that area. So I just go around the cup and let the alcohol ink do what it wants. I brush from the top to the bottom. Sometimes I will put a streak down and just go to the middle and brush middle to top or middle to bottom. Just kind of all willy-nilly. The main thing you want to do is to make sure that you are brushing straight up and straight down. You don't want to go sideways. When you look at a piece of wood, you'll notice that the grain is going all in the same direction. So that's why you want to make sure you go up and down. If you want to go side to side, you can. You just want to make sure that whichever direction you start in, that's the direction you're going to stop. Not stop in. Stay in. You don't want to have some going up and down, some grains going up and down, and some grain going side to side. That makes it look like it's a piece of wood that was just slapped on together, and that's called cheap wood, plywood, and no, we don't want our tumbler looking like some cheap old wood. So make sure that the grain of your wood, or the direction of your brush strokes, is all in the same direction, either up and down or all side to side. So, I hope you get the general idea. And now I'm going to speed it up because you don't need to watch me do this over and over. I use the same brush during all of my alcohol ink application. I'll turn the brush in different directions to get the different variegations and get some lighter and darker spots. When you add alcohol ink on top, when you keep adding it, you get lighter and darker spots naturally. So now what I do is I'm going in and I'm taking off all the vinyl. I'm being very careful as I do this because I don't want my weeding tool or whatever I'm using to lift my vinyl with to scratch my wood grain that I worked so hard on. So what I do is I pick where I'm going to start, and I will point the tip of my weeding pencil, pen, whatever, towards the center of the vinyl. I don't pick at the end and pick out towards the cup. I hope that makes sense. I'll start at the end of the vinyl and pick towards the vinyl. That way, if I do slip, I'm only scratching what's on the vinyl, not scratching the paint and messing up the wood grain that I just worked on. And this right here is probably the most tedious part of the cup, but it is also the most satisfying because as you are picking off that vinyl, the glitter that you have used starts to shine through, and it is so fun and neat to watch that pattern come out from under all this vinyl, and the cup just kind of starts to come to life. I mean, like, this is the best part of doing peekaboos, is to watch how your cup transforms while you're taking all this vinyl off. So I'm gonna let it play at this speed for a little bit, just so you can kind of watch the pattern come out. And then I will speed it up a little bit and I'm going to skip weeding all of it. It's the same thing over and over. So I'm going to spare you from my horrible videoing techniques. And if you have any questions about this part, or any part for that matter, just leave me a question in the comments and I will get back to you and answer those questions. So here you can see I'm just putting on my last and final layer of epoxy. I use Counterculture medium viscosity artist resin, and I love this resin. It gives beautiful glass-like finish, and I run a torch over it real quick, not staying too long in one spot to pop any bubbles. So you can see I'm moving kind of quick there. And that's it. I let it spin for just a little bit, about an hour or so, 45 minutes to an hour, and then I will take the blue tape at the top off and let it cure for a full 24 hours. After it has finished spinning for about 24 hours, I will set it aside and let it cure for the full 72 hours to get a final cure. And here is our final product. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and maybe learned something. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below and I'll answer them as soon as I can. And thanks for watching.